Almonte's Key Food, proudly serving communities throughout Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island for over 30 years. When you shop Key Food, you'll always find fresh products, great weekly specials, and exceptional personalized service. Visit at any of their Key Food stores at 8235 153rd Avenue, Lindenwood, New York, 935 Rosedale Road, Valley Stream, New York, and 6620 Avenue U, Brooklyn, New York.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Moving to the Office of Community Safety, the executive plan included transfers of funding from existing departments and new funding to create the Office of Community Safety. Have any programs shifted from the NYPD's purview to OCS?
No.
To what extent is NYPD engaged with the administration, and what specific roles and coordination will occur between NYPD and OCS?
Those conversations have not yet commenced.
So the administration's announcement of approximately $260 million for the creation of OCS, there have been no conversations with NYPD about the agency and who will be doing what?
Not at this time. I expect that those conversations will begin to occur. But as I mentioned before, in response to the last question, no programmatic responsibility is being shifted from the NYPD to.
So here's what you had. Tisch spent 4 hours, before the city council defending the NYPD budget. She talked about all the success the NYPD is having, major drops in murders, shootings, robberies, and other crimes. But, according to Frank Morano, the amazing city councilman and former colleague here at WABC, the biggest story was not crime statistics. It was Tisch revealing that despite Mayor Mamdani spending $260 million on a new Office of Community Safety, the NYPD has not yet had any substantive, maybe not at all, no discussions about how it would work, while also announcing plans to hire hundreds of additional police officers, putting, I believe, Tisch, I should say, at odds again with the mayor's original campaign promises. So it does look like, despite Mamdani, the boss, he's the boss, right? He's Tisch's boss, bottom line. He's her boss. It looks like, despite the fact that Mamdani is the boss, that Tisch is running the show. Here he is, City Councilman Frank Morano, the great one. Frank, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. It's great to be back. Thank you for having me, as always. I had the privilege of attending the Republican Jewish Coalition event that's run by your cousin Norm Coleman the other night. It was a great night, but it struck me because almost everybody in the room was talking about you, that you definitely are one of the most prominent Republican Jewish folks in New York City. And then Friday, there's the Talkers Conference, and it's out in Long Island. I don't know that you're going to make it there. I think you're at a different stage in your radio career these days. But everybody who's coming in from out of the country to be at that event is talking about you, Sid Rosenberg. And I was thinking there are so few people in radio or politics that could not even be in the room, and they're still dominating both conversations. And hats off to you. You know, I know what it takes to do a good radio show, especially for one for 4 hours. And, well, at least I know what it takes to do a radio show. I know the amount of work that goes into it. Yeah. And people should make no mistake that just because you make it sound effortless, you're putting in a ton of work. And it's amazing to me that you're at as many places as you are. So it's a real treat to be talking to you again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know that heavy 100 list is those very nice, Frank, and you're a very talented guy, too. That list is coming out, I think, next week. I'm not going to be there on Friday. Tomorrow is tomorrow. Michael Harrison's upset with me. He said, I know you kind of went past us, you know, but I'm not doing that. I'm not treating Michael Harrison with any disrespect. I love him. I love that conference. In fact, I'm going to be on Joe Pag's big-time radio show in Texas tomorrow. He's number 7 on that heavy 100 list. He's going to be at Hofstra on Friday. And the funny thing about the RJC dinner is, as you mentioned, my first cousin, Norm Coleman, who I love desperately, he runs out with my friend Matt Brooks. So they send out a bunch of flyers. Hey, after you march.
You're on the flyer, right?
I'm on the flyer. Right, I'm on the flyer. But not one person from the RJC called me, contacted me, asked me to speak. So I didn't go.
Yeah, I was shocked. I figured, you had something else to do, or you had a long day because it was the parade, and that's why you were there.
I did. I mean, the Jerusalem Post, where I spoke yesterday, that was a big deal. They also mobbed me like I'm Trump. The people go nuts when I walk in. They had a gala Sunday, and I didn't go to that. I would have gone to the RJC. You were there, Bruce Blakeman, my cousin Norm, but no one contacted me. But nevertheless, I know it was a great night, and I'm glad you were there. Let's get though to the to this meeting yesterday. Now, are you part of one of these committees? What is your role in all this?
So yesterday there was. So this is the budget. We're negotiating the budget now, and I'm on the finance committee, and I'm proud that Staten Island has a spot on the finance committee, and I'm proud to be a Republican on the finance committee. And but so I'm there every day, and the finance committee is doing joint committee meetings with everybody. After I hang up with you, I'm heading into City Hall. We're doing a Finance Committee and Criminal Justice, which I'm also on. We're going to question the Correction Commissioner. But yesterday was a big, big day. It was a day that all the council members want a mug for the cameras. Even the co-chair of the Public Safety Committee, Oswald Felice, said we almost have enough city council members here to to have a full city council meeting. And it's true. A lot of people showed up. So any city council member can participate in these hearings. So the Finance Committee has to be there basically, and so does the Criminal Justice Committee, but any council member can go. And because Jessica Tisch was there and all the drama involving the police department and everything else, everybody made sure to show up. So the speaker, she could certainly participate, and when she's there, she always gets the opportunity to ask the first question. And, she did. And the headline in yesterday's hearing, and I thought your friend, Commissioner Tisch, and I'm a great admirer of hers as well, she did very well. She came in and made a very strong case that the NYPD is doing its job, that murders are down, shootings are down, robberies are down. And she announced something that I didn't think we'd be seeing in the Mamdani era, quite frankly, that the department is actually going to be hiring more officers, which is good news. But Speaker Menon, she did exactly what a speaker is supposed to do, especially one that's at odds with the current mayor, and she asked the tough oversight questions. And I think one of the most revealing moments was what you just played, when she pressed the commissioner about Mayor Mamdani's new $260 million Office of Community Safety. And the answer was, I think the only description for it is startling. There really hasn't been meaningful coordination yet between the NYPD and this brand new office.
You say meaningful coordination. As far as I heard, what about meaningful? Even not meaningful, there's been none. Zero.
So you got to ask yourself the question: if you're spending $250 million on a public safety initiative, you'd think the police department would know exactly how it fits into the picture. So this whole department, which Mamdani campaigned on, it's a disaster even before it gets started, to use a Sid Rosenberg favorite. The other issue is the numbers. And if there's one issue where maybe I thought there was one weakness in Commissioner Tisch's testimony, it was maybe this. The commissioner testified that hate crimes are down, but the NYPD's own CompStat website, which people can look up for themselves, shows that hate crimes are up more than 7% year to date. And Speaker Menon, I thought, was right to ask for clarification, because New Yorkers, we deserve one set of numbers, not different numbers depending on which reporting period you're looking at. So my takeaway was that Jessica Tisch is doing a solid job running the police department. Politically, putting on my commentator's hat, she did really the impossible yesterday, which she made herself and the department look good while making the mayor look bad, which many police commissioners have tried to do. Bratton tried to do it with Giuliani, was not successful. And this is the first time in modern history that I've seen a commissioner acquitting themselves and their department very well while making clear that their mayor is totally out to lunch. And I think the speaker is doing a solid job conducting oversight. And the person who didn't come out looking great yesterday was obviously Zohran Mamdani. The hearing raised real questions about whether City Hall has a coherent public safety strategy beyond just letting Jessica Tisch do her thing. And to me, the answer is that it doesn't. And you could tell that by the coverage today. You're seeing in the left-wing publications like Hellgate, they're killing Mamdani because they're allowing more police officers to be hired. The right-leaning publications and the so-called, unbiased publications like AM New York, they also don't paint a good picture of what Mamdani's doing with policing. So not a good day for Mayor Mamdani, but the fact that by and large shootings, et cetera, are down, it's a good day for New York.
No question about it. And, you get these moronic ex-cops who do lousy podcasts that nobody listens to. They're out there every day on Twitter saying Tisch is quitting, and she's not. I speak to Jessica a lot. Spoke to her Sunday. I think I spoke to her yesterday, but definitely Sunday. She's not quitting anytime soon. But she is clearly not operating, I love this about her, from a place of intimidation. Go back to last week when the mayor stood up there and said, I'm not marching in Sunday's parade. I campaigned on that. I'm not going to do it. And then Jessica Tisch speaks right after the mayor. She could have just said, okay, he's not marching, but I am. But no. If you really listen carefully, I pointed this out on Friday. She said, he's not marching, but I am. And she threw in the word proudly. That word, as I said Friday, and people copied me, was sticking it up Mamdani's ass. So she stuck it up his ass about the parade on Sunday. She went at him yesterday about this $260 million office with no conversation. So don't tell me that Jessica Tisch is intimidated or scared when it comes to working with the mayor. It seems to me like these days she's got the upper hand.
Yeah, I mean, politically, I think she's in a very strong position because if she were to make the decision to leave, one, she still has every opportunity to run for mayor herself. She still got upwards of $1 billion, which is never a bad place to be. And, she takes away a crucial aspect of Mamdani's cover. Now, almost everything that Mamdani does, whether subtly or overtly, he does something against the Jewish people. And it's a great thing for him to be able to say, well, look, I have a Jewish police commissioner who's proudly wearing a Jewish star on her neck every single day. If she goes, that cover for him is gone. Also, all of the people, including in the podcast sphere, like you mentioned, who want to bury Mamdani on policing issues, he can't point to the fact that, look, I kept on, Jessica Tisch, a police commissioner for another administration. So, yeah, she's really she's really in the driver's seat politically and in terms of public safety.
I think you're right about the mayor thing. I think she is going to run. And, of course, the longer she sticks in this sector as the police commissioner, she sticks with that, I think the better her chances are of winning a mayor's race, especially when these numbers continue to favor what her and the police department is doing. I joke around about the mayor's race, and we've even heard, John Schell, the former cop, he's going to run. I love John Schell, love him. He's not going to win. Michael Rappaport has put his name out there. Even Julie Menon, your speaker, although I did hear a couple of weeks ago she said she's not going to run. But I do think Jessica Tisch will, and I think she'll have a good chance. Are you surprised to hear that guy that you actually endorsed, and so did I, for the better part of 6 years, after two really miserable finishes, I mean all-time low finishes, are you surprised to hear our old buddy Curtis Sliwa is going to run again?
So I don't believe that is real, honestly. I mean, I think Curtis as well or better than most people ever.
Well, I'll tell you this, if he's doing that to get ratings, last week was a 5-1 to a 1-9. So that's not working.
Paying attention, right? Curtis has some issues to work out with the Republicans of the city. I mean, you had a lot of Republicans that were soured him for the choosing to focus on Andrew Cuomo rather than Mamdani. You had a lot of people that were soured him for not dropping out. But I got to tell you, a lot of folks that stuck with him are not happy that a lot of his campaign workers, who are not exactly wealthy and in some cases left jobs that they were being paid for, that they haven't been paid yet. So until Curtis is able to work that out, which he says, and I believe he's trying. until he's able to work that out and make sure those folks get made whole, I don't see that going anywhere in Republican circles. So, I mean, look, Curtis is, for all the criticisms of him, he is a master showman, and I think he knows the best way to make sure that he stays in the headlines is to imply that he's going to run again. I think even he's politically astute enough to realize that it's going to be a tough road to hoe. But we'll see. I mean, the problem isn't necessarily with Curtis for wanting to be mayor, right? A lot of people want to be mayor. The problem is a Republican Party vacuum that made it so that there was no other meaningful candidate that could coalesce support 2 times in a row. I mean, what were the alternatives? The guy from Junior's Cheesecake or Fernando Mateo?
Right, that was 2 times in a row. So just so you know, I saw Ed Cox at that rally, Mike Lawler's rally, where President Trump motioned me over. And I told him that. I said, I'm not going to run in all likelihood, but I'm considering it because I can't allow Curtis to do it. It's just going to embarrass the Republican Party even more. And until I see some names that are real decent names, I may have no choice. And he didn't disagree with me. So there is some onus on the Republican leaders here in New York to find some decent candidates. And I'm talking about every race. Now, I love Bruce Blakeman, and I like his chances against Kathy Hochul. Look, I'm biased. He's a dear friend of mine. But in all these races, the Republican candidates seem to come up short of somebody that this town, which is mostly Democrat, is going to flip to.
Yeah. Well, look, I think a lot of it is outside the individual candidate's control, right? If people were not going to vote for Lee Zeldin because of the Roe versus Wade decision, that's not Lee Zeldin's fault, right? If people aren't going to vote for Bruce Blakeman because they don't like the job Donald Trump is doing, that's no reflection on the job that he's doing county executive. And you have a situation where in part because of reforms under the Giuliani era, to some extent the Bloomberg era, and some of the things that were changed in terms of parole by Governor Pataki and others, crime has been so good for so long that people have forgotten how bad things can be. Now, you are starting to see things go the other way, whether it's subway crime, which is definitely going in the wrong direction, or whether it's the fact that, as Speaker Menon pointed out on the rape numbers, rapes are going in the wrong direction.
Way up. Yep.
You do have a situation where you're starting to see the canary in the coal mine emerge, but it's really an artful thing that some of the Democratic politicians in the city and state have been able to do, is they've been able to take the issue of affordability, which has been driven not solely, but in large part by their policies, taxes, spending, energy prices, a whole bunch of other things, and they've been able to somehow blame Republicans for that. Now, Mamdani was very smart, I think, to run on the issue of affordability because nobody can afford to live in this city. But the people that are getting squeezed the most are the middle class. Now, the solution to that, I don't think, is socialism. You had a great interview with Randy Fine yesterday, and you pointed out that, Texas and Florida, in spite of the fact that they have a lot more people, they have a lower budget than New York State. And yet, all we do is cry poverty, and Mayor Mamdani, it's almost like he's holding the taxpayers hostage in order to raise taxes. So until people are able to go back to the days of separating, they used to say all politics is local. That's the old Tip O'Neill expression. Until they're able to go back to voting for a Democrat for president and a Republican for governor, I think Republicans are going to have a tough time in this city, even if we run a candidate as great as Sid Rosenberg. But, in the 60s and the 70s and even the 80s, it was not unusual to see people voting straight Democrat for president and then voting for Republicans like Nelson Rockefeller and John Lindsay, Rudy Giuliani, George Pataki, Al D'Amato for statewide office, city office. And now it's unthinkable because if you're a partisan Democrat who hates Trump, you're not voting for, Bruce Blakeman. No. You're not voting for even non-political offices like Attorney General, where Republicans have a very good candidate, Sarita.
Yeah, Sarita's a nice girl. Yeah, I've met her a couple of times. And we had Michael Henry. I like him, too.
Yeah, he's great. He's a Staten Islander. He's a
great guy. And in all fairness, I feel the same way. I could never envision myself voting for any Democrat. But Julie Menon, right? I'm guilty, too. On the way out, Julie Menon, will she run for mayor?
I don't know. I mean, again, putting on my commentator's hat, not the politician's hat, there's clearly, I don't think, room in the Democratic primary for both Menon and Tisch, right? So they both occupy pretty much the same lane, which is the non-socialist Democratic Party lane. It's Cuomo without the baggage, and with a much better record in both cases, quite honestly. So I think only one of them is going to be in a position to run. Now, the luxury that they both have is that they're both well connected financially, and they both have a lot of money, so they don't need to spend like a Curtis Lewa would or a Frank Morano would 3 years trying to raise money running for citywide office. They can have the luxury of jumping in 10 months before. The difficulty that Julie Menon has is that she's got to negotiate a budget for the next 3 years with the guy that she might want to run against. And the difficulty that Jessica Tisch has is that she's got to work for the guy that she would be poised to run against. So I think there are some practical concerns, but the truth is I don't know. I think that there's a lot of people. I guarantee you she hears it every single day. There's maybe 18 non-crazy Democratic colleagues that we serve with. I guarantee you every single one of them is begging her to run every single day against Zohran Mamdani, because a lot of the Democrats are not happy with Mamdani's doing. And I'm not just talking about governmentally. This $260 million community safety boondoggle threatening to raise property taxes, the pied-à-terre tax, doing these insane videos outside Ken Griffin's house, this constant barrage of anti-Semitic conduct. But politically, a lot of the Democrats are not happy with him. They're not happy that he endorsed in a Democratic primary against Adriano Espaillat, who's a liberal Democrat.
That's right.
Running in Manhattan.
Yep.
They're not happy that he endorsed against Antonio Reynoso running in Brooklyn. They're not happy that he endorsed against this fella Carl Wilson that just got elected in Manhattan. So he's been a disruptive force even within the Democratic Party. And you have a lot of liberal Democrats, including a lot of people you can't stand. And I was watching a little bit of the clips of the Brad Lander, Dan Goldman.
Me too.
Thinking of you. Because for you, that's like Alien versus Predator. No matter who wins, we lose, right? But they view Mamdani as a very negative force within Democratic circles, and I think a lot of people view either Tisch or Menon as the antidote to that. I mean, so we'll see what happens. I don't know is the long answer.
All right, but you were great this morning, man. You're great every time, and no disrespect to the other guys that do the overnight show, but you're the best by far, and you're doing a great job in the city council, and I love you to pieces. Thanks for hopping on this morning. That was really great, Frank. Thank you so much.
Well, Sid, I'm grateful for your friendship. And whenever you always list the potential Sid Rosenberg for mayor supporters, I hear Lara Trump mentioned, I hear KT McFarland mentioned, Bruce Blakeman, and maybe I haven't been overt enough, but you've always supported me in everything I've done, radio-wise and politically. So absolutely list me at the top of the list of potential Sid Rosenberg endorsers.
You're on the list, Frank Morano. Thank you, buddy. You're terrific. I love you. Thank you, pal.
Thanks, brother.
All right. There he is, City Councilman Frank Morano, and he knows his stuff, man. Nobody knows more about city politics than him. We got a lot of great guys. Hank Scheinkoff, he's terrific. He's on the show. He knows a lot. But in terms of the daily metrics and the folks that are involved in every party in this city, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who knows more than Frank. So thank you, Frank.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?